Hello, fellow citizens of the Republic of Ghana. Today I've decided to do this video on Agyapa for a number of reasons. The first reason for this video is to let the public servant, our servant, we the citizens are the masters, and the MPs, the ministers, the president, and all the public servants are supposed to be our servants, and we need to put them on alert that we have not forgotten about all the argument against Agyapa and the fact that it is not in the national interest. And the second reason is that we need to remind the public servant also that the Agyapa is not in the interest of the Republic, and that we will not allow it to be introduced, and that we are ready to demolish all the new arguments that will be introduced in support of that deal. So it's more of a citizens' awareness that we are still around, and that the idea that anybody has to reintroduce the Agyapa must be discarded. The other significant reason for this video is that one of the president's hatchet men or executioners at the finance ministry, who could not commit the state to some of these deals because of his deputy ministerial status, has been nominated as Minister of State at the finance ministry. And per our constitution, an act of a Minister of State constitutes an action of the President of the Republic, can be construed to be an action of the President of the Republic. And therefore, it is significant that that development must be brought into sharp focus as far as the future of our gold royalties and the Agyapa discussion is concerned. The third reason is that, Ghanaians, we tend to be engaged with the current issues. So sometimes there's a tendency for us to forget about some important things that we have previously discussed. And before you know it, either we do nothing about it, or we are surprised or ambushed by a future action by government. So with all this engagement and obsession with the Dumso crisis, which has, if you like, gained pro-mass status, we still need to find room for the public servants, our servants, to know that the issues of Agyapa and things are still matters that concerns us, and that also sometimes bad things get discussed and executed in darkness. So the darkness that has engulfed the capital and parts of the country leads one to bring out some discussions that may be done under the cover of darkness. On today's issue, the two arguments have emerged to want to be pushed down our throat to be the argument that must be used to support the reintroduction of Agyapa. One is being made strongly by the finance minister himself about the fact that we should trust him and that he'll get the best deal, and that we shouldn't focus on the initial value of 1 billion and so on and so forth. And the second one is being made by Gabi Ochredako, who is talking about the fact that Parliament passed the amendment to the Minerals Income Investment Fund that made it possible for SPVs to be created by the fund. And therefore, since it's an act of Parliament knew about it, and all of us should support it, and so on and so forth. I'll do this video in two parts because it may be too lengthy. So today is to deal with Gabi's argument about the fact that Parliament passed the amendment and therefore it's sacrosanct, and therefore we should support it as a people. The first a number of points, maybe 3 or 4, to demolish Gabi's argument is that, first of all, an act of parliament is not 100% sacrosanct. In fact, we have examples of resistance by the citizens of actions of parliament or acts of parliament which we suspended because it was not in the national interest. VAT was one of them. It was passed 17%. We agitated. It was suspended and reintroduced at a more reasonable rate. The more recent one I can recollect is the introduction of the compulsory toll levy that we were not enthused about. It was not in the interest of the republic, and even though the law allows that levy should be charged, as we speak, we have not done that because it's a bad action, especially when the money is going to not going to the Ghana Police Service to maintain law and order, but going to some other people. So that is the first point. The second point also is that the Agyapa deal, the argument that Gabi makes, that Parliament passed it, he should know, and he knows, that it's a post-factor rationalization. So what I'm trying to say is that Agyapa's agreement and the processes leading to that predates the introduction of the amendment bill to Parliament. So at the time the bill was being introduced to Parliament, the MPs didn't know, except maybe a few members of the majority who, because of their association with the executive, would know about it. Parliament didn't know that Agyapa had already cooked, and because it was not in line with our mineral laws at the time, they had to do a law to take retrospective effect to bring the Agyapa agreement in conformity with the laws at the time. So if Gabi is minded to know that act of parliament which the MPs undertook was undertaken as an act of deception, because they didn't know that that was what was happening, that the finance minister, the secretary to the president, and Gabi himself, who was part of the whole arrangement, the MPs didn't know that they had put together the Agyapa agreement already, and they needed that law to be introduced and implemented so that it will come into line with Ghana's minerals law. So you can't use an act of deception, a trick that you led Parliament into passing an amendment so that you could do your deal, to justify a very bad agreement or arrangement such as a Agyapa deal. The other thing also is that, you see, even if Parliament genuinely passed the bill, at the time they were doing that, let's say they didn't even know that Agyapa was going to be there, and they were passing a law to enable the Minerals Income Investment Fund to go into some SPV arrangement. The amendment per se didn't advocate for specifically Agyapa. SPVs can take all kinds of forms. So the fact that our parliament passed a law that enables MIF, Minerals Income Investment Fund, to engage in some kind of special purpose vehicle, does not mean they were talking about Agyapa. So you can't be using the fact that Parliament passed the bill to justify the Agyapa deal. Now, the other thing is that, as citizens of the Republic, Gabi, I should have said it right from the outset, but I can say it in my concluding remarks that, he's a citizen of the Republic like I am, and that he can also make a case for how he thinks our gold royalties should be managed. So I grant him the right to speak and make his own argument. The only thing is that the arguments must be sound. And the other problem I have is that he is conflicted. And he's conflicted because he is a beneficiary of even the arrangement leading to the consummation of Agyapa. Even before it's consummated, his friends are the lawyers advising the government of Ghana and not our Attorney General's department. I don't know which law that those UK people learned that our Attorney General people didn't learn, that we like to give contracts to foreign lawyers, not even Ghanaian lawyers, some foreign lawyers, to come and advise us all the investment that we have made in our lawyers at the Aegis department to go to Oxford, Yale, and Legon, and all those places. What has come of it? And he's also conflicted because he's as an individual benefited from the arrangement leading to it, and he stands to gain from this faceless investors in all this Agyapa deal, which it's actually an act meant to take from the state what belongs to the state's gold royalties and its future investment values and give to private investors. So he can make all the arguments, but as far as I'm concerned, he's not making the argument from an objective position. He's making the argument from a conflicted position. And we take confidence in the fact that we are the masters of our own destiny as citizens of the Republic. And we must be able to tell the servants for the time being that even though, like Mr. Kenneth Reata makes the argument that they have the mandate at the time, or at this time, so in their view, they will take the best of decisions for us. Well, we resist the idea that the current arrangement is not in our interest, and therefore we, the citizens, don't want it. And we are watching Parliament, Haruna Idrisu, the Honorable Minority Leader, the young ones like Kujeto Ablakwa, Suhini, and all those guys, and even some people from the majority side, that they can't take us for granted that because there's a majority, elections are over and so on, they will do what they like. It is not governance. So I'll end here, and the next video will deal with the argument that the finance minister himself has been making, that we should trust him. I will deal with that so that this video doesn't become too long. Thank you very much for your kind attention.